Hi everybody, welcome back to the garden. This is Plant Etc. So welcome back. Today I'm just going to share the story of the summer vegetables journey in 2024. What happened when I started my seeds and how everything was looking so great. You know, at the beginning of the season, of course, I started all my seeds indoor. I made sure I labeled everything. I transplanted things carefully. You can see my peppers here look great. The root development was excellent. You know, the plants look good. I had good lighting on them. Everything was going fine. I even upgraded them into a bigger little pot to make sure that they had lots of room to be able to grow. They were looking excellent. You can see them here on the windowsill, looking very healthy, very green. Nothing is wrong. And then here they are outside when I started hardening them off. You can see the eggplants are next door. I had great promise. I was really dreaming of having at least some eggplants this year and hoping that they would look really nice and delicious. Same with the peppers. I was hoping to collect a few. I did the same thing. I started also my slips indoors for my sweet potatoes. The slips were started in vermiculite, just with some organic potatoes that I purchased in the store. The slips were looking wonderful. You can see them here. They were developing really nicely. I had 3 different varieties that I started with. I'll put the names on the screen here. They were lovely. I even added them into water to make sure that they got a good root development so that way they would be ready for their transplant outside. I waited. I made sure the soil temperature was great for all my plants before I put anything outside. I had the Japanese and the purple plant. Now, I made sure I added lots of compost to my soil in the ground for both the peppers and for the sweet potatoes. I amended the soil by adding some really good manure. Just made sure everything was perfect before I planted them. I also purchased compost bags and added that into where necessary, especially for the peppers. I did also add some mulch on the ground to make sure that they were nicely covered and that the heat was kept on the ground. So I did as much as possible to make sure that these things were comfortable and ready to go. Now you can see for the peppers, what I did is I covered them under plastic, and I also had a mesh put in place just to keep out any pesky bugs that was going to eat them up. So the plastic was covered completely to keep some of the heat in, because peppers and eggplant like heat. We didn't have a really hot summer this year. I mean, the temperature was good, but for peppers, I was trying to increase the heat by covering them up this way. Maybe that was a mistake. Maybe I covered them up too much. I'm showing you the rest of the garden here. You can see everything else was doing pretty good. So the peppers and eggplant, I put them in the same bed. Once in a while, I would go by and if the heat was really hot, I was just rolling the plastic on the side here. You can see I'm demonstrating this here in this picture, where that would allow for more air circulation in case there was too much heat that day. There was some hot days in the summer. It wasn't super hot, but we did have some really hot days. You can see my eggplants, not eggplants, my zucchinis, they are looking pretty good too. And then for the sweet potatoes, what I did is I didn't plant them until July. What I did is I waited for all my garlic to be taken out of the ground. That's the bed that I was going to use to plant the sweet potatoes. I covered that bed to make sure with some black plastic. You can see that here. I made sure I fully covered it with black plastic. That was the intention of keeping the feet for the sweet potatoes really nice and hot and warm. I used a pretty thick plastic to do that. And once I finished that, I made some slits. You can see my little knife there. And then I inserted each one of the slips that I had created into one of the holes and buried it nicely. I was following some YouTubers that I saw doing this method of covering the ground with plastic to make sure that it stayed nice and warm. You can see my root system on my plants were great. Like, they were fabulous. They were looking really, really good. So I inserted the slips, and I did this, like I said, at the beginning of July. This, where they are, all there covered, they're looking good. Then I watered. I make sure everything had good watering. I didn't miss on my water at all on any of my plants. I was doing that 2 to 3 times a week, making sure things were nice and moist. So taking care of everything as much as possible there. And I made sure I fertilized. I had granular fertilizer, I had liquid fertilizer that I provided to both my eggplants and peppers. I make a mix of seaweed and also some comfrey mix. So I use that a lot for my plants. So yeah, so really good stuff and really balanced kind of fertilizer. Like I said, I did add some mulch to the eggplants and the peppers. Here I'm just showing a little bit of carrots that I started later on. But here, this is, I covered, you see, the sweet potatoes also to make sure that they were keeping the heat. That's just some Rime that I covered it with. And so to keep the heat in there, I'm going to show you, I had beautiful, beautiful leaves, like no problem at all. I was just like amazed how much green I was getting in those plants. Like, it was pretty amazing what you can see there. You can see they look very healthy. There's no bug pressure. There's none of that. And you can see there's my black plastic here, and it was nicely covered. I would even test the temperature to see what the heat level was like. It was like plus 20s under there. It was really, really lovely. I did collect some of the leaves also and ate some of that because, of course, the leaves are edible. They're like spinach. So I also did that. But you can see it looks fabulous. Like, there's no concern here. So very good. So again, starting from those little slips that I did myself to that massive, amount of green leaf that you see there, I had really big promises in my head. Like, really, I was going, okay, this is going to be fabulous. I'm going to be digging into this. I'm going to find a mountain of sweet potatoes. Everything's going to be great. I'm going to be so happy after that. So starting November, I went in and I started digging for my sweet potatoes. Here's my fork in there. I didn't film it, and I'm not sure why I didn't do that, but there you go. Yeah. That's all I got. Yeah. Yeah, enough to make you cry, because that was a lot of work. A lot of work, a lot of steps, a lot of things you have to do to make all this happen. And this is all I got. Yeah, definitely nothing to feed you for the season. And look at all these leaves that I had just a few weeks earlier, not even the day off, because I cut all this stuff off, the day off. They were still there. They were looking fabulous. They were looking great. But then there was barely any tubers at all, except for really some roots that had started to swell a little bit. I'm wondering, maybe the lesson here is I was a little bit too late, because I did wait till the first week of July to plant them. I was hoping to just get the ground really hot and hoping that the ground would be really warm, but that wasn't the case. Again, my failures of the eggplants and the peppers, I don't even have any pictures of them because I got nothing. Zero. There wasn't anything there. So I know that we forget all the pain and suffering that we went through to get all these seedlings going fairly quickly. We'll be starting up again. I'll start some sweet potatoes again. I might not dedicate as much space to it this year, but I'm definitely going to hope and try again and see, maybe do it a little bit earlier this time to see if I can get something. I might try and purchase some slip instead of starting my own slips this year. So to see if there's a different variety that works better. The peppers and the eggplants also, I'll do the same thing. Instead of me transplanting and going through all those steps, I might purchase some starter plants to see if there's a different variety out there that would grow much better than what I'm able to accomplish at home and in my setup. There's nature goes on. The garden was beautiful otherwise, like I showed you pictures of that earlier on. Everything was fine, but I'm still, wishing I had more peppers and, of course, eggplants. So this winter, as you sit around, you're planning and organizing, dreaming of what will be for the summer, don't get discouraged. Still continue if you had some failures like I did. Just persevere. Don't worry about it. You can still start over again. We'll start with our seed. We'll start with different varieties, or we'll purchase some of them. You'll go ahead and label everything, go through that whole step, and hopefully you'll have some wonderful success this coming year in 2025. Whether you're doing sweet potatoes like me, eggplants, or some peppers, that you will hopefully get better success than I did last year. So, like I said, the thing that I will definitely be trying this year is maybe to try and plant it earlier, start my process maybe in May for the sweet potatoes. I won't dedicate a whole bed to them. I will put them in kind of a half bed area. For the peppers and eggplant, I don't know. We'll try a different variety again, and we'll see if I get better success. I have friends around me that plant them and they're doing really well. I was told that maybe I shouldn't have covered them completely with plastic like I did, and maybe I should have just covered this side only with the plastic, because really it's the wind that they're mainly worried about. So maybe I will try that and see if I will have a better success with that. Okay, but enjoy your garden. Happy gardening.